a lot of times we have startups, right, or new idea makers who are utilizing these no code tools. Do you think there's going to be a change in the movement to where there's actually tools that are being on no code being created for those companies that are already established that can now take and embed no code tools into what they're growing to as well? Does that make sense?
One thing on the macro scale that we see is that many no-code platform or no-code tools or platforms also enable enterprise and small and medium businesses. I think that's where they can be very effective. Usually when it comes to enterprise, you have a couple of stakeholders. And what I've seen is that, every time new technology is being introduced to a larger organization, there's like a list of, people that need to sign off. Then you have, the IT team in the corner being like kind of mad about, this new tool and so on. So it's like, there are a lot of, dynamics that play into it. However, it is something where no code has a large future. Enterprise, SMBs. It happens to be that the startup world, you have individuals just like, hey, this new cool tool, let me try it out. That they don't have, someone that they need to sign off and so on. They can essentially test it. But I think for SMBs and enterprise, it will be a longer cycle to get more and more adoptions. But it's essentially the areas where we'll see the most impact.
I just wanted to add as well that I actually would argue if even the current no-code tools are just being used by creators and entrepreneurs. I mean, we ourselves have so many small, medium businesses running and building applications and software, just because I would even say those types of companies have a more acute need, and they actually, it solves a pain for them, right? Even though entrepreneurs have an idea, they want to start business, but the established businesses already have a problem. They are moving slow, or they cannot digitize, or they cannot make offerings to their clients. And this actually solves their real problem. And I think this is definitely the more entrepreneur creator side of people. They are very eager to try new tools. They are really easy to jump on different, applications, building applications or tools. But what we are seeing is basically the same kind of trend is starting to emerge within the SMBs and enterprise as well. Just having people who become ambassadors and really users of those tools, just kind of creating something. They had a problem with the company. They just start creating something within their organization, solve that, and then that kind of spreads through their team and across that. So that's really the model I mean, we love as well, kind of bottom-up approach to have the tools show the value to the company through different people, and then it kind of spreads from there.
I fully agree. And I think especially if anyone from the audience works on a larger organization, having a good understanding of the no-code tools and implementing them into your work, into the day-to-day, essentially makes you like a ninja, because there's so many inefficiencies, left and right, usually in organization SMBs, and no-code tools are perfectly positioned for that. Just to give an example, in my previous life, I used to run the product and innovation center for a larger agency, and our website was, while we were working more on the product and research side, our entire website was like, fully built in custom code. I essentially introduced to them, no code to them. And essentially they rebuilt their entire website over 2 weeks, all in Webflow, ultimately cutting out 4 or 5 people that were usually in between the processes of approving, of changing design and so on, right? So now, before they had 5 people doing the website, now they have 2 people, right? So it also creates an interesting dynamic within organizations where the amount of work to accomplish certain software tasks is being questioned. And I think no code is a disruptor in that.
A lot of the companies we take in Startup Starter are actually not startups. I mean, I think most are just given our name, but even our name is just more like a bet that in the future, everything's a startup. Our thesis is every business is an internet business. And I think that's just true at this point. If you're mining, or if you're starting a startup or like a coffee roaster, a lot of the things you're going to have to use are the same across the board. A good website, right? To acquire customers, test out your product, make sure to get feedback fast enough. We customize their experience according to what need they have. So if you come in as a coffee roaster, which we actually have some in Startup Starter, you can pick like an e-commerce, trail, and actually be able to have a customized e-commerce or only like brick and mortar experience. But being able to have have like a Typeform, you're able to like automate a lot of these parts. When we show them, I think it's just, there is, like with the startups, you're always finding these tools, you're always looking, you're always involved, you're always seeing this. But going into the mainstream is just a matter of being able to reach those people. Because once I show it to them, they're like, this is huge, this is easy, and this is like, you know, people that grow up from our age, if you grew up with a cell phone, if you grew up with a computer, you're gonna figure it out really quick. Right. And you're going, because for us, it was more like, okay, we're having admissions. We need to find a way to control those admissions. Let's use Typeform and let's use like some of these things to make sure that we can actually figure that out. When we show them that, it's like, dude, it applies to anyone. It's just a matter of like, okay, what's the next stage? And let's kind of stop thinking about startups, which is a very niche group. And actually, let's go into the mainstream. Let's show that, hey, any business, even if you're a restaurant, you can automate a bunch of these things and make your life a lot easier if you get creative with it, especially with like automation and like tools like Zapier and stuff like that.
I would even say it's easier for businesses to adopt a no code than startups, right? Because usually you have predefined problems that you have already identified, right? So in this case, this is the problem. What are the tools? What are the best tools to essentially solve for that? Versus in startup land of like, hey, I'm still, you know, trying to figure out what I want to do and like what tool sets to do and so on. So I think businesses overall are just like, you know, they have already those problems. They just need better tools to solve them.